Welcome back to Crossroads, a weekly community affairs program.
When Hurricane Katrina happened, I was glued to the television, watching news reports in horror as thousands of New Orleans residents waited days to be rescued from floodwaters. As disturbing as those images were, it was nothing like being in the city when the waters took over. And our next guest was there. Please help me welcome Miss Sheila St. James, a former New Orleans resident who is now making her home in the Twin Cities. Sheila, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Sheletta.
You have been in the Twin Cities 2 years.
2 years.
Now, we talk about the hurricane anniversary. It's been 2 years. Tell us your story, because we saw it on TV, but tell us your particular story.
Well, basically, I was there the entire time, and people might ask me, why did you stay? Why'd you stay? You get desensitized, and you're like, a hurricane's coming, big deal, because some of them turn at the last point or whatever, but this particular hurricane, as we all know, did not turn. It was tremendous, and it hit us very, very hard. So I did evacuate to a 2-story apartment, my uncle's apartment. And the hurricane came in that morning, and the water came in. And it was amazing. We grabbed food, water, whatever we could, the cat food, and we ran upstairs. And I tell you, that water was on the lower level at about 5 feet of water rushed in within less than 30 minutes. I'd never seen that much water in my life. And by about 45 minutes, we had about 6 or 7 feet of water. So it was a very, very scary situation. And then the storm was powerful, pushing cars like they were boats, knocking down trees that were over maybe 100 years old or something, like oak trees. So it was just amazing. I'd never seen anything like that. It was a very powerful storm. The sky was omnibus. People were on top of their roofs during the storm because we were in a 2-story. So had we been in just a 1-story, we couldn't stay in there with all that water. So that was, to me, the saddest sight in the world, was people actually on top of their roofs or walking in that water in that horrendous flood situation with that storm. That just scared me to death. And then the storm ended later on that afternoon, or I should say that evening, and it just got extremely hot in that standing water. And animals were dead. People were dying. My mom got rescued the next day by boat. So the water was so high that a boat, just a gentleman in the community, friendly guy, had a boat just picking people up from the windows. And he picked my mom up, and then 18 hours later, I got picked up by helicopter. I was flown to a makeshift rescue center that had tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 people, animals, children, babies crying. Helicopters, there were hundreds of them in the air. It had to be close to Iraq or Iran.
I was just going to ask you, how do you deal with something like that and come out with your sanity? Because at that point, your life is literally on the line. You're waiting, not knowing if somebody's going to come to get you, not knowing.
I didn't know where my mama was.
You didn't know where your mom was. Your family's displaced. You don't know if you're going to eat. I mean, how do you, I mean, you look good. You look like, you know, everything's okay. But how do you come out of that with your sanity and pick up the pieces? Right
now, this is the 2nd year I've been in Minnesota. Katrina was a couple of days ago. I try not to think about Katrina. I don't have time to think about it. I lost everything. And in 2 years, it's not enough to try to get everything back. Okay, so I lost everything, and I really am so busy. I'm a career girl. I was on television in New Orleans for 6 years, so I'm a health and fitness, wellness personality. So I'm so busy with projects and trying to get my new life started in the Twin Cities and get adapted to the snow, which I had never seen before, that I don't have time to think about Katrina in New Orleans. And if I do, I would be depressed. Now, they're showing some video right now. How does it make you feel when you see those images? You know, the anniversary, they're showing it all over again. It's like reliving it. I can't believe I actually lived through that. I just cannot believe it. And keep in mind, New Orleans doesn't have basements because it's under sea level. So had we had basements, I think that the tragedy would have been much, much worse. So when I look at it, I just tear up. I can't look at it for long, because keep in mind, when you're trapped, you're thinking it's your little, where your eyes can see. But the whole city, 80 to 90% of New Orleans was underwater and affected. And I'm just thankful. I pray for the victims that passed. I pray for the city. I was just there in July. It's trying to come back. It will never, never be the same New Orleans. How is your family doing? Your mom, you know, Katrina tore our family up. Katrina, you know, just people trying to make decisions about their lives. My mom and I, we're family, but everybody had their own individual goals. I had my career. My mom had to go back to New Orleans for the family property. She's hanging in there. We're happy people, but it's a lot of stress. A lot of stress. Now,
what are you doing in the Twin Cities? I mean, that's a long way from New Orleans. I know I came from the South, you know, to be with my husband who got a job here, but out of all the places in America, how did you pick Minnesota to come to?
That's a question everybody asks me. Why Minnesota? How Minnesota? My brother, Gregory St. James, has been in Minneapolis for 10 years. He's been in Apple Valley for 10 years. And trust me, I would have never come to Minnesota. I'm so happy I'm here. I love it. But you tend, when tragedy happens or crises, you tend to go where you have family that's stable. So we came up here, and my plan was to leave and go maybe to Houston or somewhere warm, because I don't like cold weather. When I got up here, I saw the corporations. I saw it was gorgeous weather, like it is outside right now, just gorgeous. I'm like, oh, I love it, and maybe it won't even snow this year, you know, but it did.
Oh, girlfriend,
I pray that it doesn't snow all the time, but some of y'all praying that it does snow, so I guess I'm losing that battle. But I love the Twin Cities. I'm so happy I'm here.
We're happy to have you. Now, tell us about Miss Sheila. You know, you were down in New Orleans. You had your own fitness show. You're sitting there. You're looking all buff. I'm sucking in my gut because I don't want to look too bad while we're talking here.
Look beautiful.
But tell me about what you're doing and what you do.
Well, let me just say this. I'm a United States champion aerobics instructor, #1 in the country. I compete in fitness contests and figure. And I'm also teaching aerobics at Calhoun Beach Club. In New Orleans, I was Miss New Orleans, and I was Miss Fit Louisiana, and a TV personality for 6 years. Had my own TV show, Shape Up with Sheila, which I just got started here in February.
Okay.
So my television show, if you want information about it, you can go to shapeupwithsheila.com. Here I am a national spokesperson for the American Heart Association. I have my own wellness service and personal training service, and I can come to your church for free too through the American Heart Association. So you can contact me, because I can come to your church or organization for free and do an aerobics demonstration and performance.
Give me your hand, girl. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Twin Cities.
Oh, thank you, girl. And we're happy Sheila made it out, and we're glad you made it out and stayed here for Crossroads. And just wanted to let you know, in tribute to the victims of Hurricane Katrina, we have the Sounds of Blackness in the studio singing a tune from their latest CD entitled Kings and Queens. It's all in tribute to the victims of the hurricane. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Sounds of blackness, straight off the hot blocks. Everybody feel this. Come on, yo. Put your hands together. It's time for love.
It's time for love.
Stick together.
It's time for love. Make things better. It's time for love.
Listen, you will hear children crying. Listen, you will see people dying. War and destruction everywhere. Hatred and corruption fills the air. Hunger and poverty in the midst of plenty. Homeless and hopeless, there are far too many. Fighting to survive any way we can. Living proof of man's inhumanity to man. We just can't let this go on. It's time to right all our wrongs. All before too long, we will all be gone. People all around the world, men, women, boy and girl, stand up and say, love is the only way. No more war. No more war. No more hate. No more hate. We've got to have hope. Got to have hope. It's not too late. Not too late. Love one another. It's time for love. Sisters and brothers. It's time for love.